Lai Mingtang thought about it and said, "We are all co-workers, so there's no need to get to the bottom of this. We can just laugh it out." Tang Xin did not want to let it go and said, "Professor, as a graduate from Alliance Central Military Academy, I could not stand vicious words against my alma mater. I must clear it up." All the researchers and cookhouse soldiers looked to the screen. Before long, his face became stern. At that time, almost every media reported the archery tournament between the Emperor and the monster. It was fair to say that the match was a historic one. The game ended Jingzhou and Alliance Central Military Academy's rule in the league. The nickname of Han Sen, Emperor, was broadcasted in the league by all kinds of media. Any report would reflect how the game went down and how Han Sen performed. The media almost described Han Sen as a godsend archer. Although it was exaggerated, there was no doubt that Han Sen did lead Black Hawk to beat Alliance Central Military Academy, which was the ruler at the time. As Han Sen had said, in that game, Black Hawk was the winner. The researchers suddenly changed their attitude about Han Sen. A cookhouse soldier, even one on Daphne, should not be too good a fighter. Otherwise, he would not end up as a cookhouse soldier. However, no one had expected for Han Sen, the new recruit, to have such a successful past. Being able to be called the strongest person in the entire league was an honor that none of the researchers who graduated from Alliance Central Military Academy had enjoyed, including Tang Xin. After all, when they were at school, they were not the strongest person on campus. Han Sen, I did not realize you were so good when you were at school. The fat squad leader was so happy that he patted Han Sen on the shoulder with his meaty hand. Some researchers had always looked down on ordinary soldiers, and Tang Xin was the worst of them. The fat squad leader was very happy to see his face slapped by Han Sen. I was not that good. It's just the opponent was too weak. Han Sen was not a pushover. Since Tang Xin had tried to bully him, he would punch back as well. Tang Xin's face became purple, the corner of his mouth twitching without making a single sound. He quit lunch and left immediately. Well done, Han Sen. That Tang Xin is such a snob, mean and picky, as if he was better than all of us. The guy annoyed the hell out of me. Han Sen, be careful in the future. That Tang Xin is a petty person. You are probably already on his enemy list. Since you were so great in military school and got the rank of major, how come you came here to be a cookhouse soldier? Lai Mingliang couldn't help asking. In fact, my dream is to be a soldier on the warship, even as a cookhouse soldier, which is why I'm here. Han Sen was telling the truth. However, he did not tell the whole truth. He wanted to be a soldier on the warship of Jai Yanren. When Han Sen entered God's sanctuary again, he eventually saw the pretty face of Zero. It seems it's time to conquer the spirit shelter. Han Sen found Young Manly to summon everyone in God is again. Everyone, I decided to set out to conquer the spirit shelter tomorrow and use that shelter as the base of Goddess Gang. If anyone wants to quit, now is the time. I do not want to force you, so I will let you go with no strings attached. Han Sen's gaze swept across people's faces. Captain, is it too early for us to conquer the spirit shelter? There is an aristocrat spirit in the spirit shelter and many mutant creatures. We do not have quite the strength yet to do that. How about we develop our strength a bit further and do that when we have all maxed out on ordinary geno points and primitive geno points? In that case, we would have a much better chance. Yes, Captain. We should focus on cultivation now. We have no idea how many mutant creatures there are in the spirit shelter. Han Sen glanced at the mob he was leading and said coldly, "Today I am gathering you to tell you my decision. So, all you need to do is to execute it or quit. I do not need your advice. However, there is one thing I must state clearly right now. If you quit at this point, Goddess Gang will never welcome you back. Not now, and definitely not when we have conquered the spirit shelter. It's your own choice to stay or go." Han Sen's words brought silence to the scene. Very soon, someone stood out, gritted his teeth and told Han Sen, "Sorry, Captain, we do not have enough resources to take down the spirit shelter. I can't risk it with my life. Bring me his contract." Han Sen did not answer but asked Young Manly to bring the guy's contract and voided it. With someone being the first, many more stood out to break off their contract and leave the Goddess Gang. Not many people believed that Han Sen could really conquer the spirit shelter. There were so many mutant creatures in the spirit shelter, and an aristocrat spirit who was basically immortal. Those were all huge troubles. Before destroying their spirit stones, the spirits were almost immortal in their own shelters. In addition, no one had any idea how many mutant creatures and primitive creatures there were. Goddess Gang had a total of 200 people, and many of them were still lacking in their primitive geno point count. They could not even fight primitive creatures one-on-one. Spirit Shelter was simply too big a goal. Goddess Gang, which had 200 people, lost the better half of its members soon. Only about 3 dozen of people remained. Han Sen was fully prepared in advance. However, he still did not expect to lose so many members. At first glance, most people who stayed were young people like Zuyu. Only a few of them were older. To Han Sen's surprise, the middle-aged person who used to throw sarcastic comments at him was still in the team and did not choose to leave. Han Sen still remembered that his name was Zheng Guoxing. He came to Second God's Sanctuary 20 years ago as a sacred evolver. However, he did not expect to end up in such shitty place. For 2 decades, he did nothing. When Han Sen established Goddess Gang, he joined the gang but did not show too much impressive performance. The next morning, they were missing several people. In the end, including Yang Manly, Uncle King, and Zhu Ting, there were 20 people in total. Let's go. Han Sen did not waste his words and commanded everyone to march toward the big mountain where the spirit shelter was located. Watching the young men following Han Sen, many people even showed pity. Of course, more people were delighted to witness their departure. They even thought, coming from a prominent family with the respect from Starry Group, Han Sen became arrogant. He deserves to die in the spirit shelter. It's a pity though that we are going to lose a good man like Uncle King and those young people. People of worse characters even wished for Han Sen to die there and for Yang Manly and Zero to return safely so that they would have a chance at the ladies. The 20 people marched toward the spirit shelter in heavy snow and soon disappeared on the vast snow field. Many people thought it was very likely that they were gone forever. The closer they got to the snow mountain, the more nervous they became. Even Uncle King put on a solemn look. Uncle King knew for sure that Han Sen was not a stupid man. However, in his eyes, they did not have enough to take down the spirit shelter. If Han Sen did not have any backup, they would be taking a huge risk. It would be hard for them to escape death. However, because of the blind trust in the name Han Jingjai, Uncle King did not want to quit. Are you cold? In the fluttering snowflakes, Han Sen held Zero's hands and warmed them up with his breath. No. Zero shook her head quietly. Han Sen then remembered that Zero had even better physique than he did. There was no way she would fear such weather. This is the spirit shelter. Are we really going up? Zhu Ting looked at the big mountain ahead of them and asked again. Certainly. Han Sen urged the golden growler to step on the big mountain first. The rest of them looked at each other and then all followed Han Sen uphill. Many of them were walking stiffly with no expression on their face, staring at the spirit shelter that looked like an old castle. The spirit shelter was quiet. Except for the sound of snow falling, there was absolutely no sound. The shelter looked like a lifeless castle with no residents. Uncle King, Zhu Ting, and Yang Manly could not help frowning. This was obviously quite abnormal. Creatures in the spirit should have noticed them a long while ago. However, there was no noise at all. The gates of the shelter were open, but no creatures came out of it, which was simply odd. Wait a second. Han Sen commanded the group to stop, summoned the Golden Rock Worm King, and commanded it to fly into the gates of the shelter. Very soon, the Golden Rock Worm King returned. The message brought back to Han Sen was that there was nothing in the spirit shelter, not a single creature. Nothing. Han Sen frowned slightly. The situation was clearly out of his expectation. The group marched toward the architecture and looked around vigilantly. However, they found nothing. It was as if the entire spirit shelter was empty. Having reached the destination smoothly, Han Sen pushed open the gates and walked into the hall that looked like a palace. Indeed, there was a spirit stone with an alluring glow set between the eyebrows of a huge statue of deity. Spirit stone. Zuyu and other young men became excited. As long as the spirit stone was destroyed, the spirit would be dead no matter where it was. However, before they even walked to the spirit stone, a figure suddenly appeared from the side of the room. It was an elegant woman dressed like a priest, holding an ice staff in her hand. It was the same aristocrat spirit that Han Sen had seen. Attention, yelled Uncle King and summoned his beast souls. Actually, even without Uncle King's wearing, everyone had already summoned their beast souls and looked around vigilantly. The spirit looked at the group of people, smiled coldly, and raised the staff in her hand. Light suddenly covered her body, turning her into an aristocrat fighter in ice armor with red patterns. The staff turned into an ice spear. Roar! Almost immediately, all sorts of creatures came to the empty castle. Hundreds and thousands of ice-armored beasts and other creatures besieged the hall, throwing themselves at the intruders. Go deeper and destroy the spirit stone, Uncle King exclaimed and charged the statue of deity. However, before he made a move, a dozen creatures suddenly appeared from behind the statue, each of them a mutant creature. There were huge snow wolf and bears, as well as dark bats and all sorts of birds. Those mutant creatures completely blocked the path toward the statue. Also, they were led by the aristocrat spirit. Even Uncle King was shocked and stopped, finding it impossible to destroy the spirit stone directly. Groups of creatures had flooded into the hall from outside. Although they were all primitive creatures, they were so huge in number that even if the group of people wanted to kill their way out, it would take them a long time. In addition, they were in the spirit shelter and the gates had been closed. There was no way for them to go back even if they wanted to. Human, you will regret that you stole my pet. The cold face of the spirits was emotionless. She pointed at Hansen with her ice spear. After that sentence, the ice-armored beasts flooded into the hall and threw themselves at the group of people with no fear for death. However, the mutant creatures did not seem to be attacking. All they were doing was to protect the statue of deity. Clearly, they were trying to weaken the group using endless primitive creatures first. The spirit herself walked to Hansen with her ice spear in hand, wanting to kill Hansen with her own hands to get her revenge. Everyone else looked pale. They were trapped in this place. They could not run away or destroy the spirit stone. Hansen did not seem to be worried about the situation at all. He walked to the spirit and said, "You're very smart. I could even call you sly. You have successfully lured us into the trap you have set up." The spirit curled her lips and looked content. She said coldly, "The moment you decided to go against me, your death has been certain. Unfortunately, there is one thing you did wrong," Hansen continued to say as he walked. "What is it?" Unexpectedly, the spirit asked with her brows knitted. "You should not let me come this far. Your favorite trap is your biggest mistake." Hansen quickly rushed to the huge statue of deity with the spirit stone like a tornado. The spirit sneered and swept her ice spear at Hansen, trying to stop him. However, Hansen did not lower his speed at all. He used great strength with his legs yet put his upper body horizontal. Running forward but almost lying on the ground, Hansen dodged the attack from the spirit in a weird pose and continued toward the statue at a high speed. The mutant creatures roared loud and threw themselves at Hansen like demons from hell. Jen Guoxing watched Hansen going in the middle of the mutant creatures with a complicated expression. 20 years ago, he was as brave as Hansen. At that day and age when it was still difficult to hunt a sacred blood creature, he used his diligence, talent, and special privileges coming from his family to max out his sacred genopoints and evolved as a sacred blood evolver in First God's Sanctuary. However, after he entered Second God's Sanctuary, when he was about to realize all his dreams, he found out what a terrible place he ended up at. There was no strong teammates or available beast souls. He needed to risk his life even when trying to kill a primitive creature. At the same time, he must avoid the spirit shelter and large groups of creatures at all times. In the beginning, Zheng Guoxing still fought with some hope. Shortly, he discovered that it was almost impossible to max out on ordinary genopoints in this place, let alone primitive genopoints. It did not mean that Zheng Guoxing was not strong enough to kill an ordinary creature. He was capable of that, but there were only so many types of ordinary creatures. As he ate many of a type, that type no longer provided ordinary genopoints for him. If he wanted to look for other ordinary creatures, he needed to go beyond the spirit shelter, which was something he could not achieve. It was the same case for primitive creatures, which made Zheng Guoxing feel desperate. There was no way he could continue to increase the ordinary and mutant genopoints, and he was not able to kill a mutant creature. Zheng Guoxing gave up hope completely. As he lost hope, he spent his days on nothing for 20 years. When Hansen appeared, Zheng Guoxing felt like he had seen himself 20 years ago, so confident, proud, and arrogant. Subconsciously, Zheng Guoxing tried to say no to Hansen, like he did to his younger self. However, after Hansen created one miracle after another, Zheng Guoxing suddenly realized that he wished Hansen success strongly in his heart, because he saw Hansen as his younger self. He did not really want to lose or continue to be a loser. He wanted to see someone succeed. That was why Zheng Guoxing joined Goddess Gang. When a lot of people told him to leave, he still followed Hansen to the spirit shelter. He only wanted to give Hansen a chance. Maybe he wanted to give himself a chance. Maybe there was miracle in this world. And maybe he could start over again. He was 40 years old. Maybe he was no longer young, but he was not old either. Zheng Guoxing wanted to stand up again, to feel the urge to pursue something with all he got, and to go after his own dream. "I am not old yet," Zheng Guoxing told himself. Watching Hansen throwing himself at the mutant creatures, Zheng Guoxing felt he had gone back to the hot-blooded era, when he was still fearless. At that moment, Zheng Guoxing deeply felt that his blood had not gone cold yet. His heart was still warm. He still wanted to go to the top of all mountains like a man. "Kill!" Zheng Guoxing roared and wielded his broadsword at an incoming ice-armored beast, beheading the beast immediately. With the roar from Zheng Guoxing, Han Sen also charged the mutant creatures. A red and golden firebird spread its beautiful wings in the hall and brought a pretty aura to everyone's beast souls. People found that the abilities of their beast souls were significantly enhanced, which made it much easier for them to cope with the creatures. Beast soul aura. Is it a sacred blood beast soul aura? Zhu Ting looked to Han Sen in the middle of the mutant creatures in surprise. Unfortunately, Han Sen did not have time to answer him. He threw a sharp gaze at the mutant creatures and aristocrat spirit. Every single object and living creature in the hall was imprinted in his mind. Using his brain power, Han Sen was quickly calculating every single possibility. Shapeshifting into Fairy Queen made his eyesight sharper and made his enemies look slower, giving him enough time to think. Han Sen made a step and turned his entire body into jade. If someone could see his body under his armor, they would certainly appreciate how gorgeous and delicate it looked. Under the attack of a dozen mutant creatures and the aristocrat spirit, Han Sen was not in a hurry. He looked so calm that it seemed that nothing could affect him. However, if Han Sen's moves were to be observed closely, each and every one of his moves had a strong sense of purpose. No extra movements were made. His entire body was like a highly efficient machine, generating all the power he got. The aristocrat spirit wielded the ice spear, trying to kill Han Sen. A dozen mutant creatures tried to circle him, but Han Sen found the slim chance of survival in a seemingly impossible way, breaking through the block of the mutant creatures and rushing toward the gigantic statue of deity. The aristocrat spirit was both astonished and mad. Unexpectedly, she could not even catch up with Han Sen and had to watch him beating one mutant creature after another. In just a dozen seconds, Han Sen broke the blockage of the mutant creatures and jumped on the shoulder of the statue. The aristocrat spirit could not even catch up with Han Sen, staring blankly at him. Han Sen stood on the shoulder of the statue and took out the spirit stone from the deity's forehead. It all happened so fast that the aristocrat spirit and the gang members had no time to react. When Han Sen got his hands on the spirit stone, he suddenly felt a strange force from his palm, making the spirit stone light up. Ice aristocrat, Snow Charmer, gives you her absolute loyalty and hopes to be your servant. The elegant female spirit suddenly bowed her head and kneeled in front of Han Sen. Han Sen placed the spirit stone on top of the head of the spirit. The stone suddenly became even more bright, whose light almost blinded everyone. When the lights disappeared, both the stone and Snow Charmer were gone. The spirit swore fealty. The rest people watched it happen, astonished. After a long while, they realized what had happened and looked incredulous. God knows how difficult it was to make a spirit swear allegiance. It was not something that could be achieved by violence. It basically all depended on luck. In Han Sen's mind, a spirit stone that looked like a piece of ice decorated with lots of mysterious patterns was floating. In the middle, two strange words Snow Charmer were imprinted. Although Han Sen did not know the language, he somehow knew what it meant. Han Sen summoned the spirit, and the stone suddenly flew out of his mind, turning into her figure. Snow Charmer, kill those mutant creatures. Han Sen thought. Snow Charmer immediately raised her ice spear and moved toward the mutant creatures. Initially, the creatures inside the spirit shelter were following Snow Charmer's command, fearless and regulated. However, when they lost her control, they suddenly became a mob. They lost their cooperation between each other immediately. Although they were still great in number, they no longer had the threat they just did. Snow Charmer wielded her spear and entered the group of mutant creatures. Her fitness was better than normal mutant creatures initially. With her great intelligence and spear skills, she killed her way into the mutant creatures and slaughtered a snow wolf very soon. Snow Charmer killed a mutant creature, Snow-Toothed Wolf. Beast soul of Snow-Toothed Wolf gained. Do you want to withdraw the beast soul? A voice sounded in Han Sen's mind as Snow Charmer killed the Snow-Toothed Wolf. Withdraw. Han Sen did not feel surprised by that. He had studied how to use a spirit before. According to other people's experience, after he gained the fealty of a spirit, he could withdraw the beast souls that the spirit gained from killing creatures at a time. Equally, he could transfer his beast souls to the spirit. Spirits were loyal subordinates. However, after giving their allegiance to humans, spirits would become integrated with their spirit stones. They would thus lose the ability to come back from death infinitely. If they were killed after they became servants, they would die for real. When the spirits were killed, the beast souls they carried would also disappear. Therefore, one must be careful when giving beast souls to a spirit. Although there were many limitations, the intelligence, skills, and ability to make judgment of spirits made them much better than ordinary beast souls. Especially, spirits had the ability to use beast souls, which meant they could be used like human partners, while beast souls were more like tools. The spear was wielded like a tornado. The lean body of Snow Charmer gave off incredible strength. A snow bear was hunted soon. Snow Charmer killed mutant creature Snow Polar Bear. No beast soul gained. The creatures outside the hall became a mess. They either ran away or defended themselves only, no longer fierce as before. The gang members chased the creatures in the excitement, looking back at Snow Charmer, who looked like Athena admiringly from time to time. She was an aristocrat spirit and so elegant and gorgeous. She was even a great fighter. Which man could see her and say they don't envy Han Sen? Han Sen had already been envisioning the future when he will take a troop formed of all kinds of spirits and rule Second God's sanctuary. Whoever standing in his way would be killed. No one would ever dare to challenge him. The battle only lasted a little over an hour. Lots of creatures ran out of the spirit shelter and many were killed by the humans. Snow Charmer alone killed 4 mutant creatures. Han Sen himself killed 2. However, he did not gain other beast souls other than the wolf. We conquered the aristocrat spirit shelter. Suyu and other young people still thought it was hard to believe, as if they were in a dream. We made it. Many people hugged each other, shouting and jumping up and down. Many among the people who followed Han Sen here almost had a death wish. When they were trapped, they became almost desperate. However, who knows that they would have such an ending? Most of the people were only slightly injured. None was killed. They took down an aristocrat spirit shelter just like that, which must be a miracle. The person who created a miracle was undoubtedly the man who broke the blockage of a dozen mutant creatures and a spirit and took the spirit stone. Brother, will you sell me this spirit? You can ask for any price. Zhu Ting regarded Snow Charmer with his mouth watering. No way. Han Sen turned Zhu Ting down. Of course, Han Sen would keep a spirit like Snow Charmer for himself. Although a spirit was no human, and there was no way she could warm his bed, he would feel happy every time she served him a drink or something. In addition, Snow Charmer was a great help to Han Sen at this point. Zhu Ting did not want to let it go and insisted. How about I give up the S-Class St. Hall license and you trade her for Treading Cloud? No. Han Sen turned him down without even thinking. He had lots of S-Class St. Hall licenses, while needed a spirit like Snow Charmer terribly. The broadsword in Zheng Guoxing's hand was still dripping blood. He looked to Han Sen with a complex look, not sure what he was feeling. For 20 years, he had never been as relaxed as this moment. Young Manly's eyes were focused on Snow Charmer. She envied Han Sen so much. The guy had very good luck as always. It was the first spirit shelter he conquered, and he already gained the fealty of the spirit. Uncle King was squinting. No one knew what he was thinking. However, his look was also quite complicated. Han Sen and the rest took down the aristocrat spirit shelter. Is it true? Of course it's true. Someone had already been there. People of Goddess Gang had already stationed there and carved the words Goddess Gang on the gate. Damn it. 20 people took down the aristocrat shelter. That is so fake. How did they achieve that? No idea. However, there must be many people regretting to death. What do you mean? Regretting what? So many people used to be the members of Goddess Gang. In the end, when Han Sen said they were going to conquer the spirit shelter, most people quit. Now that the spirit was taken down, each current member could have a room to themselves and live there for free forever. In addition, they were also given large amount of meat. Do you think those who had left would regret? They must feel so bad. However, Han Sen would still recruit people. Goddess Gang only had 20 people at this point, so that it must be hard for them to keep the entire shelter. They will definitely be recruiting. Han Sen said that he will admit no one that had left already. It doesn't matter who talks to him. The way he's doing things, many people will be offended. He does not need to be afraid of offending anyone. People of Starry Group had to be respectful to him. He said he would conquer the spirit shelter, and he just did. With such a background and ability, he needs to fear no one. I'll bet all those who had left are regretting to death now. If they want to go to the shelter, they must pay a big protection fee. If they want a room, they must pay very high rent. All of the things they could have enjoyed for free. Meat of evil-blooded condor eaten. 1 sacred Geno point gained. After eating evil-blooded condor for days, Han Sen eventually gained 1 sacred Geno point. However, it was so slow that Han Sen simply threw the rest to the Archangel since he was no longer willing to eat the same thing. A huge benefit of having his own gang was that Han Sen did not need to fight himself to gain different types of ordinary and primitive creatures. Han Sen picked some smaller ordinary and primitive creatures to eat, gaining several ordinary or primitive Geno points every day, which gave him a much faster progress than the bird leg. I will first fill up my ordinary and primitive Geno points. The progress I make in my fitness is quite great. Han Sen did not go out for adventures at the time being. He went to God's sanctuary to eat ordinary and primitive meat to gain some Geno points every day and read his books on Daphne the rest of the time. When Daphne finally arrived at the destination, Han Sen had already gained 84 ordinary Geno points, 35 primitive Geno points, and 1 sacred Geno point. His basic fitness was already 80+. With all kinds of assistance, he could achieve 90+ for a short amount of time. At this time, Daphne had already arrived at the crystallizer ruin. Initially, Hansen thought the so-called crystallizer ruin should be an ancient city or base. However, when he saw a real crystallizer ruin, he understood how naive he had been. Watching the gigantic planet that looked like a brilliant diamond, Hansen felt more shocked than he could describe. This planet, more than 10 times the size of planet Roka, was the crystallizer ruin they were going to explore. All kinds of crystallizer architectures were spread around on the planet. As Hansen was astonished by the glamour and grandeur of the crystallizer ruin, he suddenly sensed heat from his chest. Feeling shocked, Hansen quickly reached inside his clothes and grabbed the 9-life cat pendant. Suddenly, he felt like he had grabbed a boiled egg. The 9-life cat was giving off incredible heat. The closer he got to the crystallizer ruin, the hotter the pendant became. When Hansen entered the atmosphere of the planet, the pendant was almost scorching. After some preparation, the expert panel, Warframe Department, Explosion Department, and Marines took their equipment and left the warship, beginning their exploration. When the work began, everyone was banned from entering God's sanctuary again. Since the cookhouse did not need to go to the field, Hansen felt quite bored every day. However, since most people on the warship had already landed on the planet, he and Jai Yanran could see each other secretly quite often. Such a huge planet. We have only these people. How long would it take for us to finish the work if we look into one architecture after another? I don't think we could finish it in a century. Hansen felt quite upset when watching the field recordings in Jai Yanran's office. If this went on forever, he would probably stay here for his entire service. Jai Yanran smiled and said, "Who would be so dumb to discover one after another? That way, with these people, it would take us 500 to 1,000 years to finish 1% of the work." Jai Yanran paused and then continued, "Crystallizers had different ranks. Their architectures follow a certain rule. As long as we find one entrance, we could access their treasure. Since the device could not scan the internal structure of the architectures, we must rely on the experts specialized in crystallizer civilization to find the right entrance. Can't we just blast it away?" Hansen asked. The crystal material of their architectures is very unique. Not only is it tough, but it will also expand once blasted. At that time, the internal space would be completely blocked, which would make the excavation work even harder. Jai Yanran drank some water and continued, "This is not the real problem though. Since the experts and professors are here, the entrance could always be located sooner or later. However, if the crystallizer ruin is still working, that will truly be challenging." As Hansen was about to ask what kind of challenge there could be, he suddenly heard an explosion. Looking at the live recordings of the field, Hansen saw a red crystal the size of a fist floating next to a crystal wall. The crystal blinked with red light twice and something weird happened. The red crystal quickly expanded and changed its form, turning into the same vehicle as the multifunction excavator that was doing the fieldwork. It quickly rushed toward the original excavator. Bang bang. It only took 2 blows for the crystal excavator to smash the one it imitated. The crystal vehicle headed toward the excavation team. The soldiers in Warframe Department quickly turned on their warframes and charged the crystal excavator. Because they did not want to damage the architectures, they refrained from using massive weapons, with only laser guns and swords in their hands. Luckily, the red crystal only imitated a multifunction excavator, so it was soon shot down into pieces, turning into a pool of red liquid that then evaporated. It seems that we are out of luck. This crystallizer ruin is still operating. I'm afraid this task would not be completed that easily, Jai Yanran said with a wry smile. What is that? Hansen was shocked. It is a defense crystal of crystallizers. The Alliance calls it a simulating crystal. Once scanned by it, it could imitate the shape of anything including mechanics and creatures. However, its texture will still be the same red crystal, so the simulation was not complete, explained Jai Yanran. What an amazing civilization, Hansen complimented. Very amazing and very dangerous. There are many deadly crystallizer technologies that we don't even know about. We found it. We found the entrance. A surprised voice suddenly came from the live recordings. Hansen and Jai Yanran quickly looked at the footage and saw Chen Shaoxin and several professors standing in front of an excavated architecture, looking inside, full of surprise. It seems everything is going smooth. I hope we could locate the treasure soon. Jai Yanran felt slightly relieved. However, in the next moment, the holographic image suddenly broke off. Jai Yanran quickly contacted Chen Shaoxin and the rest using Comlink, but there was no answer. Something's wrong. Jai Yanran suddenly became pale and summoned all the officers on the warship. The communications team was trying to reach people in the field. However, they were completely out of touch, as if they had disappeared. There were not a lot of people stationing on Daphne to begin with, so even the cookhouse was summoned. Including the medical team, the repair team and the cookhouse, there were only less than 40 people. We must figure out what's happening first, Jai Yanran said with her brows knitted. Several top experts and scholars specialized in crystallizer civilization were in the field. If they were gone for no reasons, Jai Yanran would be facing harsh sanction if she returned without figuring out why. She might even be sent to the military court. In addition, many officers and soldiers including Chen Shaoxun were also on the planet, so Jai Yanran should not go back before taking a look. However, people who were staying on the warship were mostly non-combatants, including officers in charge of ship operation, medicine, and cooking. There were very few people that could be deployed. Jai Yanran reviewed all the talents she got on hand and gritted her teeth. I asked for 5 soldiers who is good at warframe operation to follow me to the field, figuring out what is happening. I'm rather good at warframe. Let me follow you, Hansen said quickly. Naturally, he could not stay on the ship while letting Jai Yanran risk her life. In addition, he wanted to figure out why the 9-life cat pendant would react to the crystallizer ruin. The 7 of them quickly left the warship and got on a field truck to go to the excavation site. Because it was not far from the warship, it only took them half an hour to get to the destination. Looking out of the field truck, all sorts of equipment were intact. Nothing was damaged, and there was no evidence of a fight. The only thing broken was the multifunction excavator. Seeing no blood, everyone felt relieved. At least those people were not under attack. Maintain the order. Transferring scanned data. Communications good. All sorts of information kept flashing on the warframes. Some sent from the truck, some from Daphne. Their warframes were also transmitting data back. Although everyone had been highly vigilant, nothing really happened. They reached the entrance the professors found with no trouble. It was a black crystal gate more than 100 feet tall, decorated with lots of complicated patterns. There were dots and circles and lines, as well as some triangular shapes. There were no obvious rules to how they were put together. It looked sort of like the guts of a mechanical clock. Quite mysterious. Captain, shall we go inside to take a look? Lai Lu asked Jai Yanran. Jai Yanran did not answer Lai Lu and felt astonished at the black gate. She quickly said to Hansen using a private channel, Hansen, I will take people down and have a look. You stay here. Why? Hansen knew she must have noticed something. Otherwise, she would not have said that. This is the ruin of some crystallizer royalties, and it's still running. It is too dangerous down there. Since you know nothing about crystallizers, you might trigger some dangerous traps. Just stay here, Jai Yanran said. I will follow you, Hansen said. This is an order, Jai Yanran said seriously. Your order is not valid on me, Hansen said softly. Jai Yanran was trying to say something else when she suddenly heard screams from the field truck. All of them quickly looked to the truck and saw the 2 soldiers stationing in the truck had gone out, rushing to them in warframes. What has happened? What has happened? Please report. Please report. Lai Lu tried to ask what had happened through the comlink but found all he could hear was noise of current. Hansen quickly checked his comlink and found his warframe had lost all communications to Daphne. The system was down. Behind the 2 soldiers, lots of fist-sized red crystal were floating in the air like red light bulbs. With a glance, one could not tell how many there were, but there were at least hundreds or 1,000 of them. Simulating crystal. How come there are so many? Everyone was shocked. No wonder the 2 soldiers started to run. Whoever saw so many simulating crystals would do the same. Previously, Hansen had already witnessed how powerful a simulating crystal was. As long as it scanned something, it could turn into the exact same thing. If hundreds or thousands of simulating crystals scanned the warframes or field trucks, they would be killed instantaneously facing all those vehicles. In addition, more simulating crystals were coming this way, growing in numbers. Jai Yanran had understood where the expert panel had gone, and she had to repeat their option. The closest simulating crystals had already caught up with the 2 soldiers. With a flash of red light, the crystals flashed at their warframes like a camera and quickly turned into red crystal warframes of the same style. They landed quickly and continued to chase the 2 soldiers. More and more simulating crystals became warframes and joined them. Lai Lu could not help drawing laser guns to attack the red crystal warframes to save his 2 comrades. No, it was too late for Jai Yanran to stop him. Lai Lu's shot made a huge hole in one of the red crystal warframes. However, instantaneously, all the red crystal warframes drew their laser guns and shot in their direction. Boom boom. The warframes of the 2 soldiers closest to the crystals exploded immediately, turning into burning crap iron, while the red crystal warframes were still shooting this way. Retreat into the ruin. Han Sen operated his warframe to go into the Black Crystal Gate. Retreat to the ruin. Immediately, Jai Yanran followed Han Sen and commanded in a clear voice. Lai Lu, whose eyes were bloodshot, gritted his teeth and ordered the other 2 soldiers to retreat into the ruin while covering them by going last. Boom. As Jai Yanran and Han Sen just entered the Black Crystal Gate, they heard a loud noise. The warframe of Lai Lu had already exploded. Seeing the warframe of Lai Lu was shot down, the 2 soldiers shot at the red crystal warframes madly using laser guns. Come inside. Quickly, Jai Yanran exclaimed at the 2 soldiers, but it was too late. Although the 2 soldiers shot down a few red crystal warframes, they were taken out by more simulating crystals. Go! Han Sen exclaimed and used his warframe arm to push Jai Yanran's. Although those people were not his friends yet, Han Sen felt upset seeing fellow humans die. Behind the Black Crystal Gate, there was a crystal path. Jai Yanran led Han Sen to go forward but did not dare to go too fast. The expert panel should have already entered the ruin. If there were any traps, they should have triggered those already. Being yelled at Han Sen, Jai Yanran suddenly understood that and operated her warframe at full speed to go forward. After they ran for several miles, they entered a huge architecture like a shelter. Many paths were interconnected. Where are we going? Jai Yanran took a look, but paths looked identical to each other. She had no idea where they were supposed to go. In addition, the paths were so narrow that the warframes could not pass. Follow me. Han Sen gritted his teeth, came out of the warframe, and turned it into a briefcase. He ran ahead with the warframe in his hand. Jai Yanran copied Han Sen's moves and followed him. As Han Sen just entered the path, he quickly summoned the snow-toothed wolf. A snow wolf suddenly appeared in front of Han Sen. It was a beast soul mount, but Han Sen did not mean to ride on it, only commanding it to go forward. Han Sen planned to use the snow-toothed wolf as a scout. He knew very little about crystallizer ruins. However, since Jai Yanran did not have any idea, he must make a decision, even if he did not know whether his decision was right or not. It sounds quiet now. Let's stop. When reaching something like a bridge, Han Sen looked down and stopped, looking at the weird crystal statues. Jai Yanran listened carefully and indeed heard no sound. She felt relieved and looked to the crystal statues about 50 feet tall each. The statues were made of crystals of different colors. The shapes of them looked rather odd. They were nothing like humans or animals. Those are the deities that crystallizers worshipped. Most crystallizer ruins had statues like these, explained Jai Yanran as she looked around. Han Sen did not seem to be listening but fixed his eyes on one statue. Come out, otherwise I would not be polite. Han Sen squeezed the warframe case in his hand and yelled coldly at the statue. Jai Yanran looked to the statue, feeling puzzled. She did not see anything, but very soon, someone walked from behind the statue. Tang Xin, how are you here? Where is everyone else? Jai Yanran saw who it was and asked with her brows knitted. I don't know. We scattered. Why are you here as well? Tang Xin walked to the 2 of them as he said, stop, otherwise I will shoot. Han Sen quickly drew his mini laser gun from his waist, pointed it at Tang Xin and said coldly, why should I stop? Tang Xin did not pay Han Sen any mind and continued to approach them. Boom. Without any hesitation, Han Sen shot at Tang Xin's head, taking half of his skull away. Han Sen, what did you do? Jai Yanran was startled, not sure why Han Sen did it. However, Jai Yanran knew Han Sen must have a reason. Although Tang Xin had offended Han Sen before, Jai Yanran knew he was not someone who would commit murder because of a small grudge. Without Han Sen explaining, she saw what was wrong. With half of his goal grown, Tang Xin did not fall immediately but turned around. On Tang Xin's back, a pink crystal the size of a duck egg was set in his muscles. Red crystal hair was growing from the crystal, driven into his entire back like veins, blinking red light as if he got new heart. It looked both weird and sickening. Parasite crystal. Jai Yanran was astonished, quickly drew her gun and aimed at the crystal like Han Sen, ready to shot. Before Jai Yanran shot Tang Xin, a slim hair grew from the crystal and wrapped Tang Xin up entirely like a mummy. Boom boom boom. Jai Yanran and Han Sen shot at the mummy like Tang Xin repeatedly, but to no avail. The laser guns only broke a part of the crystal hair, which quickly grew again. Laser weapons are useless. Use beast souls. They suddenly heard a voice say. Han Sen and Jai Yanran turned back and saw Professor Lai Mingteng and several young researchers coming from a path nearby. It was Lai Mingteng who said that. Before Han Sen summoned his beast souls, someone came from behind Lai Mingteng. He held a beast soul sword and slashed at Tang Xin and the crystal repeatedly, breaking the crystal. A cookhouse soldier does not belong here. Wang, who took back his beast soul sword, stared at Han Sen coldly and said, a cookhouse soldier is also soldier, Han Sen said calmly. If you want to throw your life away, suit yourself, Wang Hu said contemptuously and ignored Han Sen. He walked to Jai Yanran and said, "Captain, why are you down here? You should not be here." "Professor, what did you find?" Jai Yanran ignored Wang Hu and asked Lai Mingteng. Lai Mingteng said, "We found the entrance to the ruin and discovered that this is the ruin of crystallizer royalties. However, there were suddenly a huge number of stimulating crystals. Having lost the connection to Daphne, we had to retreat into the ruin. Later on, we were attacked by parasite crystals. Many people were affected. We wandered off in the mess. Where are Chen Xiaoshan and Lin Heifeng?" Jai Yanran asked. Lai Mingteng shook his head and said, "There were so many soldiers and researchers affected by parasite crystals. It was all a huge mess and I did not notice them." Jai Yanran frowned slightly. What Lai Mingteng said was similar to what she had expected to happen. People scattered in the ruin, so it would be hard for her to find everybody. "Professor, do you know the way out?" Jai Yanran looked at the surroundings and no longer knew the directions. This architecture of crystallizers looked like a metropolitan built with crystal. It was not easy to find a way out at all. "All we need to do is to continue forward. Maybe we will find the treasure very soon," said Wang Hu. Lai Mingteng also said, "Captain, since you are already here and there are a lot of stimulating crystals outside, we could not leave anytime soon. It makes sense for us to take Wang Hu's advice and look around first. If we could locate the treasure, we would be able to finish the task and have some clues as to how we should leave this place." Having studied the crystallizer's civilization diligently, Jai Yanran knew what Lai Mingteng said was correct. However, it was the ruin of a crystallizer royalty. There were only several people without even a surpasser among them, so it was still quite dangerous for them to walk around. However, she did not have other options than to agree to their suggestions and go deeper. Of course, the researchers did not march blindly. Based on their understanding of crystallizer civilization, they could make judgments about which architecture was designed for what. Based on general rules of crystallizer civilization, they could calculate where the treasure was. Although the result was not exactly precise, they had the rough direction correct. "Han Sen, stay close to me. Do not go far," Jai Yanran told Han Sen in a low voice. Wang Hu heard Jai Yanran and said to Han Sen sarcastically, "Captain, you took a cookhouse soldier down here. Are you trying to protect him, or should he protect you?" "Wang, please focus on your own job. This is not your concern," Jai Yanran said to Wang Hu coldly. Wang Hu snorted and said nothing. Lai Mingteng quickly tried to mediate. "We are in danger now, so we should all work together to find the treasure. The more people we have, the more powerful we are." In addition, Han Sen was also a graduate of a famous military academy. Shortly, another black crystal gate was standing in front of them, also decorated with those complicated patterns. Seeing the black crystal gate and the patterns, Lai Mingteng was overjoyed. He quickly walked to the gate and examined the patterns inch by inch. "Fantastic. This place is indeed the ruin of a crystallizer king." Lai Mingteng watched for a while and turned back excitedly. "Professor, what do the patterns mean?" Although Jai Yanran had done her study, it was impossible for her to understand those patterns. Lai Mingteng explained in excitement, "I could only figure out a small part of it. This crystallizer king came from Dia Galaxy." Dia Galaxy, the mother galaxy where crystallizers originated. Jai Yanran looked surprised. "Indeed, it is the birthplace of crystallizer civilization, the Lost Galaxy." Lai Mingteng looked exhilarated. Han Sen felt quite confused. He did not understand most part of it. All he knew was that the crystallizer king seemed to be of high rank and possess lots of treasure. Other researchers also looked hyped, as if they had found a gold mine. Han Sen did not understand anything about crystallizer civilization and Dia Galaxy. However, the 9-life cat dependent on his neck was getting hotter and hotter. It seemed that he was approaching something that was affecting it. Under Lai Mingteng's command, the researchers took out their tools and started to prise the black crystal gate. They were very skilled at it. It took them less than half an hour to prise it open. Light suddenly penetrated the gap. "Ouch!" A researcher that was shone upon by the light screamed and rolled around on the floor. The places on his body exposed to the light became scorched, from his face to his waist. The black mark went deep inside his flesh. Everyone became astonished. They quickly pulled the guy away from the light. Han Sen was also dumbstruck. It only took a little while for the injured places on the researcher to be infected. Someone quickly took out the first aid kit to treat the wound, but it was useless. The researcher passed away very soon. However, Lai Mingteng stared at the light and said excitedly, "This is the wandering light of crystals because there were a large number of crystals inside. This might be a historic discovery in the history of crystallizer research. Prepare fast. Whoever had succeeded in practicing microcrystals should follow me inside to look for the treasure. Other people stay here. Professor, you could not go inside." Jai Yanran stopped Lai Mingteng. Why not? Lai Mingteng was dazed. It is too dangerous inside. In addition, a huge discovery like this had to be made under the surveillance of AI according to Alliance laws, said Jai Yanran. Lai Mingteng quickly said, as long as one has succeeded in practicing microcrystal, one could resist the wandering light of crystal. The risk is minimum. Sorry, Professor, we must stick to the rules. The ruin is right here and will not go anywhere. When we go out and gain connections to Daphne, we will come back for it. Professor, I told you long ago that if we didn't get rid of this woman, she would ruin it all for us. Wang Hu and other researchers stood around Han Sen and Jai Yanran with a murderous look on their faces. Wang Hu, you are also a soldier of the Alliance. Aren't you afraid of the sanction by military laws? Jai Yanran exclaimed at Wang Hu. Military laws? Wang Hu smiled contemptuously, summoned a golden beast soul sword and slashed at Han Sen who was next to Jai Yanran. He snorted and said, there is no laws here. Han Sen stayed calm and pulled Jai Yanran back. However, the two other researchers also summoned beast soul weapons and attacked them fiercely. A beast soul dagger appeared in Jai Yanran's hand, blocking the weapon of one researcher. Han Sen turned his body sideways and dodged a blow from the other researcher. At the same time, he approached the researcher and put Cursed Wolf dagger on his neck. Do not move, unless you want to see him killed. Before Han Sen finished his sentence, Wang Hu threw himself at the researcher in front of Han Sen and cut him in half. Without a stop, the golden sword continued to approach Han Sen. Han Sen's eyes became cold. He raised the Cursed Wolf dagger at the golden sword and quickly stepped back. He did not realize that Wang Hu was so cruel that he did not even care about life and death of one of his own, so Han Sen was a bit slow. Crack. Unexpectedly, the Cursed Wolf dagger was cut off by the golden sword. A cut was made on Han Sen's forehead. Although the cut was not that deep, blood started to flow. You are dead, Wang Hu said coldly. His body generated incredible strength and caught up with Han Sen like a shadow. Making another slash at Han Sen, Wang Hu moved fast and fierce. Han Sen was not affected by the situation. With anger in his eyes, he lamented the loss of the Cursed Wolf dagger. He had not suffered such a loss in a long time. But it is not that easy for you kill me. Han Sen snorted, his heart thumping like thunder. Moving his legs, Han Sen fiercely dodged the sword of Wang Hu and threw a punch at his face. Seeing Han Sen fought Wang Hu with no disadvantage, everyone else was shocked. Wang Hu was an evolver whose fitness was over 100. For Han Sen, a cookhouse soldier, to be his match, it was absolutely astonishing. You indeed have some secrets, Wang Hu snorted and said. Why are you standing there and watch? Kill Jai Yanran right away. The researchers then came back to themselves and attacked Jai Yanran. Although they did not dare to kill her as Wang Hu said, Jai Yanran was in danger and was about to be caught. Han Sen obviously understood what Wang Hu was thinking. With Jai Yanran taken hostage, Wang Hu did not even need to fight Han Sen anymore to beat him. You're a good fighter. However, you are too naive. Han Sen summoned the Spirit Stone. Shortly, an elegant beauty in ice armor appeared next to Jai Yanran, wielding her ice spear and fending off the researchers, saving Jai Yanran from the crisis. Spirit. Is that an aristocrat spirit? The researchers looked surprised. Judging by the ability of this spirit, she was a top aristocrat spirit, which was so rare. With Snow Charmer helping Jai Yanran, the researchers could not approach them anytime soon. Snow Charmer, take Yanran away. Han Sen thought and transferred the Golden Growler and Desert Bird to Snow Charmer. Snow Charmer was a good rider to begin with. On the back of the Golden Growler, she wielded her ice spear and cleared a path among the researchers with the help of Desert Bird. However, before Snow Charmer pulled Jai Yanran on the Golden Growler, a figure suddenly appeared next to Jai Yanran with no warning. A mini laser gun was pointed to Jai Yanran's head. Professor Lai Mingteng. Jai Yanran looked to that person, shocked. Unexpectedly, it was Lai Mingteng. Judging by his speed, Lai was even faster than Wang Hu. It was so hard to imagine that Lai Mingteng, who was the weak and polite scholar, would have such fitness, even stronger than Wang Hu. Wang Hu, stop, Lai Mingteng said calmly. Wang Hu stared at Han Sen coldly and went back to the side of Lai Mingteng. Han Sen did not chase him, staring at Lai Mingteng without speaking. Captain, I do not mean to kill you or become the enemy of the JIS, so I will have to ask you to cooperate for a little while. When we find the treasure, I will let you go, said Lai Mingteng. Then he looked to Han Sen and said, the same applies to you. Be our hostage and I will not kill you. When everything is over, you can leave together with her. Han Sen did not reply but moved fast and dashed to the Black Crystal Gate. Not expecting Han Sen to act this way, Lai Mingteng and Wang Hu were slow in their reaction. Han Sen had disappeared in the Black Crystal Gate. Damn it, that bastard had practiced microcrystal. Seeing Han Sen was not hurt by the light when the expression changed. Doesn't matter. There is only one way going into the core area. He could not go away. Lai Mingtang did not mind it, looked at Jai Yanren, and asked other researchers to lock her up. Zhang and Liu, you two have been rather successful in practicing microcrystal, so you should not fear the wandering light. Follow Wang Hu and me inside. The rest shall wait here. Shouldn't we kill her? Wang Hu glanced at Jai Yanren. It is troublesome to piss off the Jis. In addition, we don't know what is happening inside, so we should make the decision later. If we could not catch Han Sen with her as our hostage, we will have some leverage, Lai Mingtang said calmly, taking his men to enter the Black Crystal Gate. Wang Hu and the other two researchers followed Lai Mingtang, while the rest were watching Jai Yanren. After entering the Black Crystal Gate, Han Sen felt his eyes were prickling. Although there was no sun, the light was so strong that it felt like there were a million magnesium lights. As the light hit his body, Han Sen, who was already using microcrystal, still felt heat on his skin. The light is so strong here that I don't believe they could see anything clearly, Han Sen thought and took out a small mirror. Looking at himself in the mirror, he summoned the Beetle Knight, which walked into the mirror and walked out as Han Sen. Han Sen hid behind the Black Crystal Gate, controlling his doppelganger to run toward the other end of the tunnel. Shortly, Lai Mingtang and Wang Hu caught up with him. Seeing the doppelganger, they ran after it with no hesitation. Thank you for watching. Subscribe and enable notifications so you don't miss the next chapter.